Discover the incredible journey, how 100 executioners uncovered life-changing truths that transformed Maplewood forever. In tiny Maplewood, the air brimmed with the rich scent of coffee and warm pie, a reminder of simpler, sweeter days. Sarah, a dedicated single mother, flipped pancakes with one hand while keeping a watchful eye on her spirited son, Billy, at the diner. Her heart swelled with pride as she served neighbor after neighbor, their smiles a comforting testament to the bonds they shared. But beneath this warm facade lay simmering uncertainty post-factory closure. The heart of Maplewood had been ripped out. Every morning, as Sarah watched families struggle just to make ends meet, she felt the weight of her town's despair. Stepping out of her diner, she saw shadows clinging to once vibrant storefronts. But whispers of hope started circulating. The Patience Project was coming to town. A program aiming to reintegrate men labeled as executioners, those with past convictions, into society. Their chance at redemption ignited an intense firestorm in town. Some embraced the chance for healing, while others feared the unknown. Sarah's heart raced as the prospect of change loomed, stirring within her a call to action. Her diner could be the nexus of connection, a place where forgiveness might breathe anew. What if I hosted the dinner, she pondered, her gut tightening at the thought. Would her friends turn her away? Would they shout? Her thoughts unraveled as visiting townsfolk argued during the town hall meeting, emotions flaring like wild flames. Executioners can't change, someone shouted, and nods of agreement rippled through the crowd. They spoke of fear, of danger. But as she listened, a voice echoed from her past, a surprising revelation born of familiarity. One of those men had crossed paths with her late father. The connection jolted her. How could someone so connected to her own blood be deemed irredeemable? Torn, Sarah grappled with what she believed in. She stood before her neighbors, their faces a mixed canvas of support and scorn. What about second chances? She called out, her voice trembling with emotion as whispers slithered through the audience. My father believed in forgiveness. Suddenly, the weight of her words hung heavy in the air, a collective pause wrapping around the room. Sarah saw faces soften, confusion mingling with doubt. The idea of humanity blossomed against the backdrop of skepticism. Would their hearts flicker with faint hope? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just days later, anticipation crackled in the air of Sarah's diner as she prepared for the dinner. She felt the weight of Maplewood's collective heart resting upon her shoulders. Would they embrace the executioners or allow fear to shackle them to their prejudice? As the sun dipped low, casting golden hues across the diner's entrance, a knock shook her from her thoughts. Could it be the executioners? Her heart raced, the choice before her echoing through the silence. Would she open the door and shatter the chains holding her community back, or turn away, choosing safety over hope? The question lingered: how would this choice redefine her world and the people she loved? Sarah took a deep breath, steadied herself, and opened the door. A chill rushed over her when she was met with the sight of men, their expressions a mix of trepidation and determination. They stood tall, shoulders back, ready to face a world that had labeled them unworthy. The first was a broad-shouldered man with a tattoo creeping up his neck. He looked familiar, there was a spark in his eyes that reminded her of someone else. Yet the fear that had stirred in the town hall meeting lingered fresh in her mind. She squeezed the door, swallowing hard against her uncertainty. "Welcome," she said finally, her voice softer than she intended. The men exchanged looks, unsure. One stepped forward, a little hesitantly. "I'm David," he said, a hint of vulnerability in his voice. "I know this community hasn't seen the best in guys like us. But I believe we can change. We want to make things right." As Sarah stepped aside to let them in, her heart hammered against her ribcage. Each man walked in with the specter of their past haunting them, yet they carried themselves with a spirit eager for change, a spirit she wanted to believe in too. In that moment, Sarah looked toward the kitchen and saw Billy peeking out. She motioned for him to come over. He approached cautiously, his small hand finding hers, as if seeking reassurance. "Mom, are they bad men?" he asked quietly, eyes wide. "No, honey," she said, crouching to his level, "they're here for a second chance, just like we all might need sometimes." Billy's expression transformed into a smile that lit up his face, and Sarah felt a warmth in her chest. It was as if the atmosphere had shifted, an unseen weight lifting. As they gathered around the diner's tables adorned with handmade decorations and flickering candles, the tension crackled, but a flicker of hope stirred in Sarah's heart. She began to serve the meal, the aroma of warm comfort food wafting through the air like a balm. Conversation started awkwardly but soon blossomed, laughter breaking through the discomfort. David shared stories of his past, not as a way to seek pity, but to show his genuine desire for change. Kevin, another executioner, revealed how he had once worked in the factory, sharing stories of his youth and dreams that had gone unfulfilled. With every shared experience, bridges were built, and walls began to crumble. Then suddenly, the bell on the diner door jingled and in walked a group of residents, the same faces that had shouted in anger days before. Sarah's heart sank. "Thought we'd come see what the commotion was about," one of them sneered. Before any words could be exchanged, Billy dashed over and tugged at the newcomer's coat sleeve. "You should join us. They're not bad. They're just like us." The room fell silent, all eyes on the little boy. His unfiltered belief hung in the air, demanding attention. The residents exchanged glances, uncertainty shadowing their faces. Sarah's heart raced as she took in the moment. Would this be a turning point? What would they do? What would she say now? Did they truly want to embrace possibility, or would they walk away, choosing the familiar chains of prejudice instead? The tension was palpable, every second felt like a lifetime. Sarah stood with her breath held, a myriad of emotions swirling within her. Would Maplewood let go of its fears today? Or would it take another step back into darkness? As silence enveloped them, the community seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the final decision to unfold. The moment hung in the air, and Sarah felt it, thick and heavy, wrapping around her like a fog. Billy's innocent plea echoed in her mind as she steadied herself. It was as if the entire diner had paused, caught between two worlds, one rooted in fear and suspicion, the other in hope and new beginnings. The woman at the front of the newcomers, a wiry figure with restless energy, stepped forward. Her expression was skeptical, lips pressed tight. Sarah recognized her, Emma, the town's unofficial leader during turbulent times. If anyone could sway the crowd, it would be her. "What is this?" Emma demanded, her voice sharper than Sarah had remembered. "You're letting these men into our community just like that? After everything?" David straightened his back. The tattoos on his arms seemed to ripple as he raised his hands defensively. "We're not here to cause trouble. We want to start fresh," he said, his voice steady. "Just like everyone else has a chance to do." "Yes. Exactly." Billy piped up, his little hand waving like a banner of innocence. "They're nice. They told us stories like Dad used to." Emma's gaze softened for a brief second, before she shook her head. "Stories don't change what they did. You think sharing memories makes it all better?" The weight of her words stung, and Sarah felt anger bubbling within her. "They're trying to make amends, Emma. Isn't that what we all want? A chance?" Several residents muttered amongst themselves, some nodding, others frowning. Sarah caught a flicker of doubt in their eyes, and fear spurred her forward. "Billy is right. We're all just looking to belong," she continued, her own voice rising now, passion fueling her. "These men have made mistakes. But so have we. If we don't give them a fair chance, we're no better than, well, than what we always feared. Silence swept over the diner again. Sarah could feel the stillness, a taut string ready to snap at any moment. A man at the back, a familiar face, Frank, once a close friend of Sarah's father, spoke up. "And what if they hurt us again?" "Then we'll deal with it together," David replied, meeting Frank's eyes firmly. "You have that choice. We can support each other. Move forward as a community." The air crackled with tension, and Sarah held her breath, hoping for some sign. Then she noticed something shift in the crowd. One elderly woman slowly stepped forward, her hands trembling. "I lost my husband to the violence of the past years," she said, her voice fragile yet powerful. "But hatred won't bring him back. Maybe these men are the start of something different. Maybe we have to try." Gasps echoed around her. This was new ground, vulnerability laid bare in front of them all. One by one, heads began to nod. The flicker of hope ignited, challenging the darkness. Emma's stern expression wavered, as Sarah felt her heart soar a fraction higher. "Maybe we can listen and see where this goes," Emma finally said, almost a whisper, turning her gaze between the men and the townsfolk. Encouraged, Sarah spoke again, urgency building within her. "Let us keep this going. Share meals, share stories, share lives. It's how we build something real." As murmurs of agreement rippled through the room, Sarah let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. They were at a pivotal moment. But would they move forward together? Time hung in the balance, and Sarah felt the pulse of possibility behind her ribs. Change was painful yet beautiful. Could they hold on to it? Suddenly, the bell jingled once more. Another figure stood at the door, this one shrouded in shadow. As they stepped into the light, Sarah felt dread wash over her. Who was this new player? Would they shatter the fragile hope forming in the diner? Or was this a chance for something greater? The newcomers stepped inside, the spring air swirling around them like a tempest. A hood cast shadows across their face, but Sarah could feel the unease ripple through the diner again. She instinctively moved closer to David, who had a protective stance, ready to face whatever threat this figure might bring. The room felt smaller, the energy contracting like a tightening spring. Emma squinted, trying to catch a glimpse of whoever stood before them. "Who are you?" she called out, her voice steady despite the tremor in the room. The figure lowered their hood, revealing a woman with striking features and kind, yet weary eyes that told stories of their own. "My name is Claire," she said, the modest tone of her voice resonating despite the anxious environment. "I came after hearing whispers of change in this town, change that could lead us all to healing." Instantly, the room shifted. The crowd hesitated, caught between suspicion and curiosity. Frank, still nursing the scars of the past, stepped forward, eyeing Claire skeptically. "And what's your role in this? Why should we trust you?" Claire took a deep breath, her pulse steadying. "Because I know what it's like to lose faith." She glanced around the diner, making eye contact with several townsfolk. "I've watched my own community crumble, watched people turn against each other out of fear. But I've also seen what happens when people come together to heal." "Just words," Emma remarked, her eyebrow raised. "Everyone has a story. Why should yours matter?" Claire hesitated, then continued softly, "Because I'm here to help you find your way through this. Not just for the newcomers, but for everyone in this room. There's more at stake than just our safety. It's our humanity." Sarah felt a knot in her chest loosen. Claire's sincerity was palpable, her presence radiated warmth. "What do you mean?" Sarah asked, stepping forward. "How can we do this together?" "I've seen the beauty that lies in bridging divides," Claire replied, her eyes sparkling with realization. "What if we shared our burdens? It starts with understanding, doesn't it? With talking, listening. Are you suggesting we all sit down and share what has happened?" Frank challenged, but he was intrigued. "Yes. Stories can heal wounds we don't even realize we share. We've all lost someone, something. You're not alone in this pain. Claire's voice was steady, like a lighthouse in a storm. The crowd remained silent, but Sarah sensed the gears turning in their minds. They had been trapped in a cycle of distrust for too long, and here was a chance to shift that narrative. It felt like the moment was opening up around them, like branches extending toward sunlight. We could start with a community gathering, Sarah suggested, her heart racing with possibility. An open invitation, sharing food, sharing stories. It doesn't just need to be about the past. Let us find a way to build something together. The murmurs grew louder, the community realization settling in. A few nods appeared, and a flicker of hope buzzed through the air. Emma seemed to soften, caught between skepticism and wonder. But even in the moment of unity, the weight of the past still hung like a cloud. This isn't a shortcut, Emma warned. Forgiveness isn't easy. We can't forget what happened. I'm not asking you to forget, Claire replied gently. But remember that forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves in the process. Sarah's heart raced with the energy in the room. Could this really be the turning point? As they looked around at one another, faces lit with a mix of apprehension and hope, she felt that the real work was just beginning, and somewhere in the back of her mind, a question loomed large. What stories would surface when they opened the floodgates? Would they uncover solidarity, or would the past's darkness rise again? As Claire stepped fully into the light of the diner, revealing her past and purpose, Sarah wondered if the community was ready to face the untold burdens, all while forging a new path forward together. And if they weren't ready, what would it take to make them believe in change? Sarah's heart pounded against her chest. The air was thick with anticipation, like the charged moment before a storm. She felt the hope flickering in the room, fragile yet fierce. It was a spark igniting the dimming lights of their shared history. Maybe we should do it, then, she said, her voice a mix of determination and fear. The gathering. We can meet at the park tomorrow. Invite everyone. It's time to start talking. The murmurs around the diner grew louder, uncertainty mixed with a hint of excitement. David placed a reassuring hand on her back, sending ripples of courage through her. People will come, he said, confidence lacing his words. Even the ones who have been running from it all. It's time to stop hiding. And what do we do if they refuse? Emma interjected. What if old wounds resurface? What if they don't want to share? Then we give them space, Claire offered, her tone steady, encouraging. This isn't a forced confession. It's an invitation to heal. We can't control how others respond, but we can show them we care. The weight of her words hung in the air, echoing the truth Sarah had been trying to grasp. She looked around at the familiar faces around her. Faces might have once seemed together but were now fractured by fear and hesitation. There was a quiet understanding that passed among them, a thread connecting hearts through shared scars. Sarah caught sight of Frank. His hardened exterior made him look unreachable, but she saw a flicker of hope in his eyes. What are you thinking? She asked gently. He sighed deeply, the tension in his shoulders releasing, and spoke slowly. I guess I've been waiting for someone to take the first step. I'm tired of living in this shadow of fear. A small nod of agreement spread through the crowd. That simple admission felt like a collective sigh of relief. The weight of it all was shared, if only a bit. Claire smiled, her eyes gleamed with understanding. Then let us do this. It starts with us sharing. Let us ask everyone to bring a dish, something that means something to them. Food can spark stories. Sounds good to me, David said, his smile contagious. We could even have music. It'll make things a little lighter. Emma hesitated, her earlier skepticism still evident. Even if healing isn't a linear path, it can be messy. We need to be okay with that. Claire looked at her with empathy. It is messy. But that's the beauty of it. It's raw. It's real. And it's a journey worth taking together, one step at a time. As the conversation flowed, Sarah felt her heart swell with hope. It wasn't just the fear of the past they were preparing to face, it was the promise of change, of community, of belonging. The diner felt bigger now, filled with the warmth of connected souls. But just as hope started blooming, a loud crash from the back of the diner cut through the chatter. The door swung open, and another figure stepped through. Their body language buzzed with anger, eyes darting around like a predator. "I hear you're planning a little gathering," the newcomer snarled. "Do you think that will make everything better? You think stories can fix what is broken?" The room went silent, tension rising like thick smoke. All those dreams of healing threatened to suffocate under the weight of his words. Sarah's heart raced. Was this the confrontation she had feared? Would years of hurt drown out their hopes of change? She could barely draw in a breath as the atmosphere shifted again, and the question loomed larger: would this feuding voice drown out their collective yearning for connection, or could they find a way to turn this threat into an opportunity for dialogue? The air crackled with tension as the newcomer's words hung in the silence. Sarah blinked, her heart racing, grappling with the challenge laid before them. She could feel the uncertainty ripple through the crowd. Faces once filled with resolve now glanced around nervously, the flicker of hope dimming under the glare of doubt. "Who do you think you are?" David stood up, anger sparking in his eyes. "We're trying to make a change here. This isn't about fixing everything in a moment, it's about taking the first step." The intruder squinted, crossing his arms over a thick chest, as if daring anyone to step closer. "Change? You think you can just sit around and talk it away? Stories? They don't fix anything. The past is still there, waiting." His smirk sent a wave of unease through Sarah. She could feel her own gut clenching. Those words, they echoed the fears she had been wrestling with, the questions of whether they would ever truly heal, or if it would all just fall apart again. "Yeah, maybe it's messy," Frank chimed in, rising slowly, his own voice steady but laced with an underlying tremor. "But you know what? We're tired of pretending. We're tired of the shadows you want to keep us in. Some of us choose to face it, no matter how painful." The weight of his declaration momentarily stunned the room. The intensity in his eyes caught the crowd's attention. Sarah felt her pulse quickening, emboldened by the solidarity forming around them. The newcomer seemed taken aback, shifting on his feet. But then he regained his composure. "And what happens if it all goes wrong? If digging into the past opens up wounds that never heal?" "This gathering isn't just about the past," Claire spoke up, her voice soothing yet firm. "It's also about connection, about facing forward together. We're inviting everyone, even you. If you think this won't work, then be a part of it. Help us find our way." The intruder's eyes narrowed, disbelief flickering across his face. "You think I'd share my story with this bunch? You're delusional." "You're wrong." Sarah stepped forward, her heart pounding, but conviction steadied her voice. "It's not just about sharing your story. It's about listening, too. We all need to be heard. We're inviting you because maybe, just maybe, you're carrying burdens of your own. We're here to help each other." He scoffed but hesitated. The tension in the room danced between hopeful and hostile, like a teetering scale. "Just think about this," she continued, her words tumbling out like an unexpected wave. "Every person you see in this room has their own story, their own scars. Maybe it sounds naive, but we're ready to stand together. Are you?" The silence stretched, thick with uncertainty. For a moment, Sarah felt as if the world had paused, everyone suspended in a shared breath. The newcomer's glare softened slightly, indecision crossing his face. "Why should I care?" he muttered, but even he could hear the doubt in his tone. "Because even those who are hurting have a chance to heal." David stepped beside Sarah. "We're here, willing to take the risk to reach out. What about you?" Everyone waited, breathlessly expectant. The stakes felt higher than ever. Would he lean into the moment, or would he retreat? And just as his expression flickered with the hint of a decision, the door swung wide again. At the threshold stood another figure, someone from their past, and a hush fell over the diner. Sarah's heart stopped momentarily. This was someone she hadn't seen in years, someone who could change everything. Would they walk through that door, or would the opportunity for truth and connection slip away once again? The figure stepped inside, and recognition washed over Sarah like a tide, warm and threatening all at once. It was Jess, her childhood friend, a kindred spirit who had vanished from her life without a trace years ago. The air grew heavy with a mixture of disbelief and nostalgia. Jess's eyes scanned the room, landing on Sarah, and for a fleeting moment, they shared a silent understanding, a bridge of memories spanning the years apart. "Jess," Sarah whispered, barely able to comprehend the whirlwind of emotions swirling within her. Shock, joy, and an undercurrent of fear tangled together. Jess stood still, glancing from Sarah to the intruder, then back to the crowd, confusion etching her face. The room felt simultaneously alive and still, everyone seemed to hold their breath, waiting on the reaction that would follow. I didn't know anyone would be here," Jess finally said, her voice tinged with uncertainty but also curiosity. "What is going on?" David stepped forward, ready to explain, but Sarah held up a hand. "Wait. This is important. Jess, we're trying to find a way to heal. To connect. You belong here." Sarah's heart raced as Jess took a step closer, her features softening. "You're trying to fix what is broken." "It's not about fixing everything," Frank interjected. "It's about facing the pieces together. We need all the voices, including yours." Jess hesitated, looking around as if weighing the weight of each gaze upon her. But what if the pieces can't be put back together? The atmosphere thickened with tension again. The intruder shifted, visibly annoyed at the distraction but intrigued enough to listen. "Maybe they don't have to be whole," Claire offered, her voice taking on a gentler tone. "Maybe we just need to be honest about our scars, the ones we carry, the ones we create." In that moment, Sarah remembered all the times Jess had comforted her, all the laughter and tears they had shared as kids. There was depth in those memories, and she could see now how much Jess had shaped her willingness to confront the past. "We're here to share who we are," Sarah told Jess, her words ringing out into the tense silence. "Every voice matters. Yours does, too." Jess's eyes darted from person to person. "But what if sharing brings out pain? What if we can't handle it?" The intruder snorted. "You think your little circle can handle reality? You're all pretending everything will be fine. It's wishful thinking." "Is it?" Sarah shot back. "Or is it brave to even try? Aren't we all tired of pretending everything's perfect on the outside?" A flicker of hesitation began to mirror the uncertainty she felt in her own heart. Jess's brow furrowed deeply, the wheels clearly turning in her mind. "It took so long to get here," Jess began, her voice trembling now. "I felt so alone once I left. I didn't know how to come back. What if I can't?" "Then we'll be here with you," David answered, his sincerity disarming. "You don't have to walk this road alone. We're ready to explore together, no matter how dark the corners might be." Sarah could see the shift in Jess's expression, longing and fear intertwining. As hope began to break free, the intruder shifted again, a smirk playing at the edges of his mouth. "I'd love to see this," he replied, feigning amusement yet holding on to the thread of intrigued suspense. "Let us see how deep this rabbit hole goes." As Sarah looked at Jess, she felt an electric spark of connection that hadn't flickered out after all these years. The possibilities felt endless and overwhelming, steeped in uncharted territory. "Jess, will you share with us?" she asked softly, her heart echoing in her ears. And just as Jess opened her mouth to respond, Sarah's phone buzzed in her pocket, a sudden urgency shattering the moment. She glanced down, her heart racing once more as she saw the name flashing on the screen, someone from the past they hadn't expected to hear from. What could this call mean for them all? With her heart thudding like a drum, Sarah hesitated just long enough to take in the scene around her. The whisper of hope she'd felt moments before now battled with a rising tide of confusion. She recognized the name on the screen, and with it came a flood of memories, some sweet, others heavy with unresolved issues. "Just a second," she whispered, stepping away from the circle. As she swiped to answer, the commotion in the room faded into the background. "Hello? Sarah? Is that you?" The voice on the other end was a mix of familiarity and discomfort, each word pulling her deeper into a past she thought she'd begun to leave behind. "John. What is going on?" she replied, her surprise fluttering in her chest. "I know it's been a while," he continued, and she could hear the slight tremor in his voice. "I had to call. I heard you were trying to connect with the past." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked, bewildered, glancing back at Jess, who was watching her intently. The intruder remained in the shadows, a faint smirk still plastered on his face. "It's about Jess," John said, hardly a breath escaping before the words caught in his throat. "I can't explain everything now, but you need to know she's not the only one looking for answers. There are things I never told you, things about why she left." The way he spoke hinted at secrets, a web of uncharted history that could shatter the tentative bridge Sarah had been trying to build with Jess. She felt the weight of that responsibility settle heavily on her shoulders. I can't right now," she said, swallowing hard. "We're having an important moment. Listen to me, Sarah. This isn't about you or Jess alone. It's bigger than that. You're not prepared for what could be revealed. I've been piecing it together for a long time." His tone ignited a mixture of anger and concern within her. "Bigger than what, John?" She shot back, her frustration spilling over. "I need to understand. Just trust me," he urged, desperation like a glow in his voice. "Meet me tomorrow. You'll need to know the truth before you dive into the past." Sarah's mind raced. She could see Jess's anxious expression. Doubt still lingered there, a flicker of fear dancing in her eyes as they momentarily returned to each other. I don't even know if I want to meet," she stammered, even as curiosity pulled at her. The fragility of their situation hung thick in the air. "Just think about it," John replied, voice softer now. "Things aren't what they seem. For both of you. This could change everything." With that, he hung up, leaving Sarah standing alone, the hum of voices around her suddenly muted. "What was that about?" David asked, breaking the silence, concern etched across his brow. She took a deep breath, still grappling with John's words. "It was John. He says he knows why you left, Jess. He says there are truths we don't know." The room fell silent, the weight of her revelation crashing heavily over everyone. Jess's face blanched, a storm of emotions flickering across her features: shock, fear, anger. "Why would he know anything?" Jess asked, her voice tight. "He's the last person I want to hear from." "Maybe it's not about what we want," Claire replied softly, stepping closer to Jess. "What if he holds answers that could help us heal?" Jess shook her head, tears pooling in her eyes. "I don't want to go back there. Not now, not ever." "Then I'll go," Sarah said, firming her resolve. "I'll meet him. If there's a chance to understand, to find a way for all of us to heal, then we have to take it, right?" Eyes wide, Jess looked at her, uncertainty hanging between them like a taut thread. "Are you really willing to put yourself in that position?" Jess asked, her voice trembling. In that pivotal moment, Sarah realized they stood on the precipice of something bigger than any of them could imagine. "Maybe we're all being called to confront the past," Frank said quietly. "What if they weren't the only ones?" As Jess processed the weight of Sarah's offer, tension rippled through the group. "Can we really face whatever's there?" Jess asked softly, the vulnerability hanging in the air, and just like that, they were back at the edge of a cliff together, uncertain of where the next step might lead. Would uncovering more truths serve to connect them or tear them apart? Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that tomorrow held answers she could barely comprehend. "Whatever happens next, we'll face it together," Sarah murmured, but doubt niggled at her heart. What truth awaited them, and would they be ready for it? The next morning was draped in a soft, golden light that filtered through the drawn curtains of Sarah's bedroom. It felt like the sun was trying to ease the weight pressing on her chest. She sat up, glancing at her phone as if hoping for clarity from the little device. Instead, she found more questions in the blinking notification: a message from Jess, "Are you still going to meet him?" With a sigh, Sarah tossed the covers aside and swung her feet to the floor. She felt a mix of anxiety and resolve bubbling inside. Today was the day she'd confront the shadows of the past, armed with nothing but a fragile thread of hope for a better understanding, and maybe even healing. The coffee maker gurgled its morning tune as she tried to summon energy for what lay ahead. She poured herself a steaming cup and took a moment to appreciate the warmth of the mug in her hands. It felt reassuring, like a hug from the universe as it whispered, "You can do this." After a quick shower, Sarah dressed casually, wanting to match the uncertainty she felt inside with the familiarity of her everyday style. She picked a simple blue top and jeans, nothing that would distract from the conversation ahead. Stepping out of her apartment, the brisk air hit her face, awakening a nervous flutter in her stomach. She wasn't just driving to meet John, she was venturing into a labyrinth of memories, some dark and twisted. The familiar route to the coffee shop flooded her with nostalgia, memories of jovial moments with friends flashing through her mind like the quick scenes of a movie montage. When she arrived, John was already seated at a corner table, his fingers nervously tapping on the surface. Seeing him again conjured up a swirl of emotions. He looked different, older, wearier. Yet the same tension lingered in the air between them, the remnants of a past neither could escape. "Thanks for coming," he said, his voice tentative as she slid into the seat opposite him. "Let's just get to it, okay?" Sarah replied, trying to sound adamant, but uncertainty seeped into her tone. John nodded. "I didn't call to upset you. But there are things about Jess and about us that need addressing." The murmurs of the cafe faded into a distant hum as he began to speak, unveiling pieces of a puzzle Sarah had long buried. The details were murky at first, but as he continued, threads of truth began weaving together, sparking recognition and pain. Jess left because, he hesitated, searching for the right words. There was so much happening we didn't know how to navigate it. You both deserved better. I didn't help. Confusion washed over her. You are saying you kept secrets? I thought I was protecting you both, he confessed, anguish etched on his face. But it only made things worse. The truth, it involves her family, and they didn't want her to reconnect with the past. Sarah's heart raced. This felt like the moment of truth she had anticipated, but it bore the weight of more than she could have imagined. "John," she whispered. "What do you mean, her family? What did they do?" "Things that could change everything you think you know about yourself," he replied, his eyes locked onto hers, a storm brewing beneath the surface. The gravity of his words hung thick in the air, wrapping around them like a heavy fog. This was bigger than her, this was about everything she thought she understood. As he elaborated, Sarah felt the past crashing against the present, creating tides of grief and realization. Everything Jess did, every decision was shaped by this. His voice wavered. "And you need to brace yourself for what comes next." She leaned back, feeling the world spin around her. Could she face this? Could Jess? A whirlwind of emotions surged within, rooting her thoughts in confusion and dread. Just then, her phone buzzed with a message. It was Claire. "Are you okay?" "John, this changes everything," she murmured, feeling raw at the edges. The revelation was like stepping into unfamiliar waters. Would they sink or swim? "Are you ready for this?" John asked, his gaze steady. As the cafe bustled around them, Sarah felt the stakes rise, inching her closer to desperate answers. Would the truths uncovered draw them all closer or shatter the fragile connections they've been nurturing? With a deep breath, she realized they were all intertwined in this web now. The journey was only beginning, and she could only hope they were strong enough to endure it together. What awaited them at the end of this tangled path? The sun hung high over Maplewood, illuminating the diner with a warmth that felt almost surreal. Sarah stepped inside, her heart pounding with anticipation. The echoes of yesterday's fears were still heavy, yet a flicker of determination ignited within her as she approached the little table where her community had gathered. Everyone was ready to share their stories, the diner buzzed with the energy of possibility. Sarah caught a glimpse of Jess, her childhood friend, sitting at the corner, her expression a blend of anxiety and hope. David and Claire, alongside the men deemed executioners, wore faces of both resilience and vulnerability. Frank, Emma, and others from the community hovered by tables, exchanging nervous glances, ready to face whatever truths lay ahead. Today was different. Today meant leaping into the unknown, together. "Welcome, everyone," Sarah called out, her voice steady even as her heart raced. "This isn't just about food or sharing stories, but about embracing each other's pasts and forging a new path forward." A soft murmur spread through the crowd. There was trepidation but also anticipation. Slowly, faces turned to one another. The simple act of togetherness had created a shared space for reflection and healing. After serving warm platters of the diner's finest meals, Sarah took a deep breath, gathering her courage for what came next. "Why don't we start with our stories?" she suggested, her eyes scanning the room. "Let us share who we are and what brought us here." Jess, who'd been fidgeting with her fingers, spoke up first. "I'm Jess," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I left Maplewood to escape some burdens from my family, but it never felt like I truly belonged anywhere else." The room swelled with empathy, Sarah could feel it. It was contagious. Frank nodded, his eyes thoughtful. "I get that. I used to think I was alone in this place, too, but it turns out we've all been hiding from something." David leaned in. "We came here hoping for a chance to make things right. To show you we're not defined by our past mistakes." Their stories trickled out, and with each revelation, the weight of judgment began to lift. Emma finally spoke, her voice shaking. "I was scared of what the executioners represented, but maybe fear is what kept us all apart." The conversation unfolded like blooming flowers, revealing underlying tensions forged from pain. Sarah watched as barriers between townsfolk and executioners crumbled. They laughed, shared sorrow, and even cried, finding solace in the shared language of vulnerability. As the afternoon sun began to wane, the atmosphere shifted. There was a moment of collective understanding blooming in the room. Each person felt seen, and the past's darkness began to lift like morning fog. Then, the previous intruder, once a loud voice of dissent, stood up. "I don't know what I expected when I came here today, but I'm tired of pretending everything is fine," he said, vulnerability lacing his tone. "I want to try to understand your stories, to understand why you chose to stand here with us despite everything." A ripple of surprise passed through the crowd, but the atmosphere had shifted from hostility to curiosity. Sarah's heart soared at the sight of lingering skepticism beginning to fade, allowing space for empathy and growth. As the gathering wound down, Sarah looked around, noticing the radiant smiles and tears of joy, the connection filling the diner with a palpable warmth. Together they had tackled more than just the unknown, they had uncovered the power of human connection, transforming their shared space forever. That night, as families left the diner with hope flaring in their hearts, Sarah felt waves of relief wash over her. Change was hard, yet beautiful. The journey of Maplewood had just begun, and the shared commitment to keep moving forward sang in her ears like a favorite tune. Hours later, Sarah stood outside her diner, the moonlight illuminating the now vibrant streets of Maplewood. The town felt alive, full of potential and possibility. She longed to embrace every twist and turn. This new chapter would take. As she turned to head back in, her phone buzzed. A text from Jess flashed on the screen. "Can we talk more tomorrow?" Smiling, Sarah replied with a simple, "Absolutely." Every ending held a beginning. With a heart full of gratitude and anticipation, she knew Maplewood was on the brink of something incredible, and this was just the beginning. If you've made it this far, now is the time you must act. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your love for the journey we've taken together. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about this transformation, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this. You need to be part of this growing community. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share it. Join us, let us spread hope and connection.